What do you notice about the next few seconds? No music. I didn't jump cut over here. I didn't magically appear in a forest on B-roll. I haven't got my phone as an object being waved in front of your face to try and activate your visual tracking as you look across your screen and keep you watching the video for longer, because this is technically a long-form video. It's not short. And the silence, the breaths, the space in between my words is important, and I'm deeply concerned that we're losing the ability to form meaningful human relationships and understand the information that we're trying to receive because of the way it's being presented. In this video, I'm going to share some of the arguably spiritual and ethical reasons why I don't produce short-form content, even though I've been exploring throughout many different forms of social media over the years, and I even ran a secret TikTok experiment where I posted 3 times a day for over 3 months. I never mentioned it on this channel, and I learned a lot on the inside as a creator or as an online teacher about what happens to your soul and your state of consciousness when you start creating 30 to 45 second, hyper-optimized, hyper-scripted, arguably soul-draining content. Today's question was from Sophie, and she said, how do you break an addiction everyone has when we all feed each other, in relation to a recent community post I made about scrolling addiction. And I thought I could make a video, which I've already made before, honestly, about boundaries on social media and turning off your phone, and, you know, a very standard video that you've already seen, how to quit screen addiction, how to get off of social media. But you've already seen videos like that. Where I think I can be more useful for you is giving you a sneak behind the curtain of what it's like for me as an online teacher, what I learned from my friends and let's call them colleagues who also have large audiences, much larger than mine, and what it's like on a week-by-week basis to be psychologically scripting short-form content to reduce individuals into attention spans and watch time, and why I really strongly have, honestly, quite extreme ethical stance that I'd almost frame as short-form content is potentially evil, or at the very least it's unintentionally evil. There's somewhat of a demonic or damaging effect when you're caught in that hypnotic trance-like scrolling state, and at this stage I'm doing my best to refuse to participate in it. I'm going to give you an analogy for my philosophy. About 5 or 6 years ago, I was working on a farm in Europe, and part of this farm was a dairy farm. At the time, I was eating meat, I was eating beef, but over the months of me working with cows and realizing that the mother cows are over there, and they go into machines where they're milked out, and then the milk is taken in a little plastic bucket to the baby calves, which are about 10 meters away from the mothers, and then you feed these baby cows from a plastic bucket the milk that was taken from the mother cow. I eventually developed a distaste for eating cows. I didn't like the whole process. I literally saw how the sausage was made in this instance, and it changed my perspective on red meat, and I haven't eaten red meat since that series of instances when I was traveling. I do eat fish and eggs. I'm not extreme on veganism, and I can see a case for hyper-ethical, organic, grass-fed farming as a potential option for some people. But the point I'm trying to illustrate is that when you see how the content or how the literal food that you're consuming is created and the structures and the intentions behind the scenes, you might lose an appetite for that which you're consuming. In the same way that you watch battery farms and you watch animals in slaughterhouses, if you're going through a vegan or vegetarian stage, you realize the horrors of very cheap animal products, and it's a whole debate in itself. But where this relates to social media content could be me giving you a few insights into what happens as a creator, as a teacher, when I'm trying to optimize for short form content as opposed to making a video like this, where you can see my breathing. You can see the space in between. There's nothing happening. There's no background music, very minimal editing, and hopefully it feels different inside of you. There's a reason that podcasts and books are literally healing to consume when they're done right. And I think there's a great mistake that we're making as teachers and educators when it comes to reducing screen addiction or internet addiction in the general population, or at least in our small audiences and our various isolated communities on the internet. If you're somebody who's trying to encourage attention and focus and deep concentration and meaningful contribution to the world, but you're rapidly presenting to the camera, reading off a script that's slightly off camera over here, and then jump cutting between the phrases to try and give this seamless flow in whatever kind of video you're producing, and simultaneously expecting that somebody's going to develop a deep attention span, there's a bit of a conflict there, at least from how I see it. Maybe I'm being pedantic, maybe I'm being extreme, but let me go a little bit more into detail and then hopefully give you the equivalent of seeing the factory farm behind the scenes. Things I want you to pay attention to. I'll use my phone as a prop. If you ever see short-form therapeutic or self-development or self-improvement content and you notice a prop is being used and it's being taken from the camera and it starts like this of 5 reasons that I quit social media. Reason number 1, boom, boom, and then I jump cut over here. Reason number 2, and then I bring out my water bottle as another prop. This is all highly engineered and it's very, very sad and almost manipulative. Again, not an evil manipulation in itself, I understand. And I've participated in how to optimize somebody to just pay attention to what you're trying to share because you believe in what you're trying to share. But nuance is lost in short form content and even genuinely healing content. And this isn't education, entertainment. This is education, not pure entertainment. I'm not looking at prank videos or different kinds of shorts that you'd see on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube. I'm talking about educational shorts, how it's still a problem here. Even the best intention, when presented in a restricted medium and when you're playing to the rules of the medium, and I've read dozens of books about online marketing and social media management, and there are so many tips and strategies that you don't want to lose out on as an online teacher or a coach because you want to build your business, you want to build your client practice, you have a great course or a great workshop that you want to try and introduce to the world and encourage people to participate in, but the short form trap destroys your consciousness from the inside. And I can say this with certainty, having spent enough months posting on a daily basis on Instagram and TikTok, trying to optimize for captions and various ways to just increase that watch time and getting hooked on the analytics. And it feels awful. It doesn't feel like you're teaching anything real, and it causes a lot of stress behind the scenes when, as a creator, you're responding to people in the comments section who are responding to a 30-second version of you, and that 30-second version of you is highly scripted and not very spontaneous at all. It doesn't feel real, and I've seen this problem in several of my coaching, creator, teacher friends, where you almost become dissociative. You become depersonalized and you no longer exist as the actual person that you are. You're so caught up in your digital persona and the highly crafted digital persona that you're presenting to the world that you lose contact with your own heart and your own soul, and then you're building relationships with your audience, the individuals in your audience, from a disingenuous and disconnected place. It's a bit of a rant that I'm going into, but I've felt this firsthand, and Sophie asked me, how do you stop doing something that everyone else is doing? You need to realize that there's an ethical war. To some degree, there's an ethical war, there's a moral cause, and I've felt so strongly inside myself that the quality of my teaching, the quality of my presence, and my understanding and relationship to the individuals in my audience predictably goes down and down and down the more video-based, scroll feed optimized content that I produce, whereas in the last few months I've been writing more content in the community posts, I've been engaging in polls. They're still short pieces. A poll takes a few seconds to engage with, but there's something different about the written word and about having just a photo with some language that takes a few minutes to read, and then you look at the comments threads in these community posts, and I feel very fortunate and very blessed because it's genuine. Just because it takes a minute and a half to read and it's a short piece of content, it doesn't feel the same way as hyper-optimized jump cut with music and B-roll and sound effects. It gives someone an opportunity to reflect, gives somebody an opportunity to actually take in the information I'm presenting, and especially if I'm working in complex psychological territory, or maybe on sensitive issues around trauma and damage and wounding, I think there's a bit of a cognitive disconnect or some kind of very strange emotional paradox that we're not aware of as teachers and coaches when we're presenting very highly charged, almost short, as I'm going into it, like this very contracted, almost fear-based, almost fight or flight style short-form content, and thinking that our audience is going to get a relaxed response. You're not, and I know you're just trying to promote your material, but it doesn't work to actually encourage a real transformative experience inside of people. So in the same way that I've gone through this journey of trying short-form content and trying a variety of ways of teaching and realizing that ultimately my number one principle, with the exception of a few videos at the very start of doing YouTube, has been no editing or very minimal editing, and just speak to you like a real human being for 15, 20, or 25 minutes and make the space for the humanness in between. I think that's where our salvation lies, not in my content in particular. I'm not trying to be prideful or think that I'm going to make a massive change in the world from however many tens of thousands or, God willing, hundreds of thousands of people that I form a connection with through my online business, my online presence, and whatever I might be doing here. But I think this principle, if enough teachers and coaches, especially within the transformative space, take it on, will actually upgrade the quality of consciousness of our viewers rather than dumbing down our teaching or teaching at a level which goes to kind of like the base of the skull, goes to the reptilian brain and literally again activates your eye tracking. Now you're watching this going over here, and if I ask you to watch it, you're over here. I've just changed the way that you're perceiving. You're using a different part of your brain, and it's all magician-like. It's almost dark magician qualities, and you can't escape it fully. I'm still going to do hooks in my YouTube videos. You still saw that this was thumbnail and title, and it's clickbaity to some degree. You can't escape it fully. But it feels like a moral responsibility that if you know the factory farm-like nature of putting all those cows into the slaughterhouse or stealing the cows from their mothers and doing all kinds of questionable ethical practices behind the scenes, as a creator, as someone who's making videos that you're putting on the internet, and it feels uncomfortable inside of you. It feels like it's not right, and you're a spiritually minded person who knows that humans are capable of much more intelligent human capacities. Don't dumb down your teaching and don't put people into a dumbed down state, because you're responsible for that. And it's a big responsibility. Only last week I got a notification, and again, this is something that I'm really happy of at this stage in my journey of teaching, that YouTube said I've reached 2 million views overall on this channel. And it feels good for me because the majority of those viewers are from content and teaching and educational materials which I believe in, which are real, which is really me, which isn't trying to game a system or get a viral hit or just a forgettable video that makes no impact. It's been me all the way through. And just as a warning, if you are someone who's a teacher, a coach, a healer, or whatever you may associate me with, or you're doing, just please pay attention to this. Don't build yourself into a business or into a teaching structure which you're then going to be imprisoned in, and you're then going to bring in audiences and bring in individuals who have high potential, but you drop down their potential through the medium that you're presenting. A bit of a ranty video. Again, I've covered this same topic. I think it's episode 112 out of 500 about 6 months ago on internet addiction, which has more of a conversation. I'll link it up somewhere on the screen about actual boundaries that you can place. I'll link it also at the end of this video, because there's the inherent contradiction in me trying to teach on YouTube while also saying watch out for short form content. Bit of an ethical crusade, and I also know that realistically in the future there will be some moment where I'm making some form of short form video and I will be a hypocrite, ultimately. Playing the game and trying to teach as best as I can to you, wherever you may be watching this, in a real, genuine and authentic way that feels like an actual conversation, while still embracing the irony that it's a parasocial, one-sided relationship, but it's not, because if you leave a comment, I will respond. I respond to as much as I can, and you can always reach out to me over on Instagram if you are interested in actually working with me, because I'm a real human being. I always respond as myself. Ethical business principles, ethical consumption principles. Just say no to the factory farming of the internet in the form of short form reels, and I wish you the best of luck. We all need a bit of luck in regards to this, but the boundaries, the structure. Video's over. I just feel sad. It's a sad state of affairs. There's no happy ending. It's honestly quite sad. That's the end of the video. Sorry it's not more hopeful. You're in control. That's it. It's just sad. Really sad. This is the time where someone wouldn't then post the video because it's not optimized. I'm gonna leave it in. I feel sad about this topic. And I don't want to be part of the problem. I'll see you in the comments section.